Hi, I'm Brendia Miller, just a girl who feels like she barely survived from being 18 to 29, from an abusive marriage to divorce, pregnant with my sweet girl to the mom of an angel, and this was all before I was even 20. Since then, I married the high school sweetheart, had a sweet boy, wrote a few books, blogs, and in 9 years, 3 states, 4 cities, 13 homes, 2 hotels, 1 angel girl, 1 sweet boy, a bunch of jobs, and an insane amount of love and laughter. Here I am, 30 years old, talking to you, sharing my wisdom from the infinite lessons I have learned while still learning to navigate around the things that I haven't. Come along and navigate with me. There is room here for your joy, your grief, your hormones, your emotions, your friendships, relationships, heartbreak, and all of the other things that come along with being in your 30s. Welcome back, 30-something gang. If you're new here, welcome to the In Your 30s podcast, where we explore the unique challenges and joys of navigating life in your 30s. I'm your host, Brendia, and today we're diving into a topic that I believe is often misunderstood, but so incredibly important for anyone in a committed relationship. And it really took me till my 30s to realize this because of the type of marriage I have today. So if you're in your 30s and you're married, or you're in your 30s and you want to be married, this episode is definitely for you, because this is going to be a tip that you want to keep in your pocket. We're going to talk about why the phrase, "you're nothing without your spouse," should be seen as a compliment to your marriage rather than an insult to yourself. Even if it's meant as an insult, which usually, let's be honest, it is. So let's get right into it. For some reason, there is a common perception that if you tell someone that they are nothing without their spouse, somehow you're diminishing the worth of that person as an individual. And let's face it, when people say it as an insult, they somehow feel like it does make you less than them. And many people will see this as a sign of weakness and dependence, to have a spouse that just has lifted you up so high you can achieve anything. And that's insane. So today we're going to challenge that notion, because it doesn't even make sense. Think about it. When we talk about great partnerships, we often highlight how the partners complement each other and how they bring out the best in one another. But why is it different in marriage? And why do we act like having a good marriage, having a healthy marriage, is like bad image? You know, when we get married, we expect great outcomes from our relationships and our marriages. Yet, we find leaning on our spouse to be a weakness. And I know many people will say that they don't. They, want to be able to lean on their spouse. But let's be honest, most people have the most pride when they can say they did it themselves and no one helped them. At the end of the day, it does boil down to pride, and a good, happy, healthy marriage cannot exist with an overabundance of pride. Not individual pride anyways. There can be a consistent, healthy amount of pride for the marriage between both people, for the things they've accomplished, how far they've come. But an individual amount of pride is so toxic to a marriage, because it truly is a dividing factor. There are so many things I could say about the ways that we do relationships wrong and diminish the chances of the relationship's success with extremely high expectations and low effort or low knowledge on how to make those expectations real. But most of these things aren't thrown in people's faces to show them in a light that makes them feel less. But the truth is, the person who is nothing without their spouse is luckier than majority of people in relationships today. How do I figure? Because I am she. So I know that in truth, without my spouse's love and faith and undying support, I would not be where I am. There's so many times I've wanted to quit, throw in the towel, and he has pushed me to be my best self in a way that I needed in the moment. And I cannot say thank you enough. Now, that's not to say that he gave me any of my success or that he was the cause of it. He was a contributing factor. He was a supporting factor. But, of course, I earned it. But when you're in a good, healthy relationship, your partner helps you make it happen in many different ways, depending on what the need is. And oftentimes, men and women have moments where they want to quit and the dream is just so hard and it feels like it's out of reach, and their partner pushes them and offers them the support they need to keep going. So now that I've said my little hot take here, being nothing without your spouse really speaks to the strength and the support that a good marriage provides. We are going to break it down. Now, full disclosure, I am not a marriage counselor or a professional. However, this is just my take. So, one way that you can offer support is emotional support. We all know this. This is not a foreign concept to us, and we all expect it, but sometimes we forget to give it. Your spouse can be your biggest cheerleader. They can celebrate your wins. They can hold you up when you're feeling down. These things can all be a powerful force to drive you towards that finish line. And they can include things like active listening. You know, your partner's just listening to your concerns and your feelings without judgment or interruption. They don't jump to solve it if that is not what you need at the moment. Like, it's just listening, just opening your ears, shutting your mouth, and then reciprocating in a way that meets your partner's need. Encouragement and affirmations are another good way of just helping your spouse out. You know, letting them, hey, I see you're working hard. You got this. You're almost there. You know, problem solving. This is a big one. This is a feel it out. You know, you need to really think like, okay, is this the place for me to problem solve? And if it is, help solve the problem together. Address it together. You know, lean on each other. Don't place blame on each other. Take a moment to, if you're overwhelmed, really feel what you're feeling so you know how to articulate it. Because sometimes we get overwhelmed and we forget how to respectfully speak to our spouse. Even when they're not the problem. You know, there's just so many things. A little bit of empathy and a little bit of understanding goes a very long way in a marriage. Sharing responsibilities. This is a major one. You know, if your partner goes back to school and they're working and they're a mom or a dad and, you know, all these things, they're not always going to have time to do all the things they were doing before. They have a place to put their focus right now. And at this moment, it's a great time to really step up for them. Quality time. This is so important. And everyone spends quality time differently. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos on Facebook about people saying that they're in the same room with their spouse, but they're on their phone. Some people are saying how, you know, it creates a divide in their relationship. Others are saying how they're cool with it and this is like their comfort zone and there's no divide. It's not causing a problem. So like, I don't know if you guys have seen those. I've seen them though. And I think it's so funny that people truly expect it to be a one size fits all. It's not. Quality time is different for every couple. There are couples that like to be home. There are couples that like to travel. There are couples that like to sit on their phone and just be in the room together. And there's people that want to have a face-to-face, make eye contact, meaningful conversation at dinner. And so I think every couple really needs to be able to voice their opinion and their feelings for what they expect out of quality time, because sometimes you get with a partner and they don't have the same quality time expectation as you. So that's my little mini rant on that. But just prioritizing spending whatever quality time means to you and your spouse. Just offer them comfort. Respect their boundaries, Understand that sometimes people need space, even in a marriage, and celebrate their success. That is a major, major thing. The first time that I got, not the first time, but the first time I got like a big girl job, I guess, when my husband and I were together, he was like, I want to do something special for you. And so he bought me this purse I wanted. And I was so excited. It was my first Coach purse. I was so excited. Now we do different things depending on what it is and just where we're at in our life, the season and stuff. Usually it's not a purse. We're kind of past the designer handbag situations, I guess. I don't really care about any of that stuff anymore, but now we just find different ways to celebrate each other's success. One way that I like to celebrate his success that he doesn't like as much is Facebook posts. So I've had to adapt to making sure he knows I'm proud of him and that I'm celebrating the goals that he hits without doing it in a way that doesn't really make him feel good. He doesn't like to be the center of attention. He doesn't like to have people, tagging him, commenting. He just doesn't like all that. On top of that, a lot of his goals and his wins are at work, and he doesn't ever want to come off braggy and snooty about them. I, however, like to brag on my man. And I don't care if it sounds braggy or snooty, but he does. So I've had to, over the years, kind of adapt to, okay, this makes him uncomfortable. I'm going to celebrate his wins in a way that fosters him, makes him comfortable, makes him feel like it's about him. And then this is the part that is real hard for most marriages. And this is one of the things that I feel like, in my opinion, a lot of marriages really, really, really struggle with, and why they can't get past so many of the obstacles that stand in the marriage, and that's providing honest feedback. We are so scared to hurt our partner's feelings sometimes that we sugarcoat it and we make it seem like it's a less big deal or something's better than it is in order to protect them, but it's not protecting them because they're not given a chance to grow. And so I think honest, constructive feedback in a caring way really will help your partner improve and grow. And you don't have to be critical or harsh. Think about it. Choose your words wisely. Be sensitive to the subject and your spouse, but honest, if that makes any sense at all. This was something that was really hard for us. And it even got to a point where one time I was just crying and I was telling my husband, I don't care if you're going to hurt my feelings. Just tell me the truth. Just tell me what you truly think, because I feel like this is what you think and you're not telling me the truth. And it was in a situation where I felt like I was criticizing him a lot, but he was not saying anything about me. And I know I'm not a perfect spouse or parent, so I appreciate the feedback. Whereas he didn't want to hurt my feelings. He didn't want it to cause a problem. And it took us a lot of work to get past that honesty, that being constructive and trying to help your partner without being criticizing and hurtful. Now, another way that you can help your spouse when they have big goals and big dreams and less time to do all the things that you're used to them doing is practical support. Life is full of responsibilities and challenges, and having a spouse who shares the load, whether it's household chores, parenting, financial planning, can make everything more manageable for everyone. Take charge of some of the household chores. it's not hard to walk past the sink of dishes and know it needs done. Help with the laundry or the groceries. One thing that I try to do, my husband normally stops at the store on the way home from work just to pick up anything we need. And I've started trying to make sure that I just go to the store in the mornings or the afternoon before I get him, so he don't have to do that. Because I know in this season of our life, it gives him more time to be home and spend time with our son. They get very limited time on work days, so this is like my practical support to help him out. Financial assistance. This one really is like something that gets people in the butt. I don't know what it is about spouses financially assisting and supporting their other spouse that catches y'all's tails on fire so much. But society just is like, this is the worst thing ever. As if we did not come from generations and generations and generations where women were not even allowed to work. Women did not have jobs. Women basically had to depend on their man or their parents to provide for them. And I'm not saying it worked out great for them then, but I'm just saying, we look at a woman working while her man goes to school as him being a bum and poor, pitiful her. And we look at a man working and the wife being home with the kids as she just sits there and does nothing all day, and he just brings in money. And society is so screwed up with what financial assistance means for families and marriages. And the thing about it is, it's just like every single thing else in a marriage. One size doesn't fit all, but just because it doesn't fit your marriage doesn't make it bad for other marriages. So helping each other out with the financial management, the budgeting, the paying the bills, or even just providing financial support. Your husband goes back to school to get a better degree, or your wife wants to be a stay-at-home mom so she doesn't miss out. These things are okay, and they're great ways to provide practical support. The problem is, again, that honesty is not there, and we fail to be honest with our spouse. We fail to say, hey, we can't really afford this right now. Is there another compromise? We fail to want to compromise with our spouse. And so there's just so many reasons that financial assistance as a practical support is hard, and society makes it harder. I'm going to get off this rant, but you get the point. It is very important that if your spouse needs that financial assistance, that practical support, and you can give it, you guys can afford it, give it. Or you have the time. If you have the time to sit there and go through and budget or take a couple of the bills off of his hands, do it. Okay. Back on task. Childcare is another practical support. Taking turns, sharing the duties of caring for your children, including school drop-offs or homework help or going to their games. My brother-in-law and his wife have 3 kids, and they're all in sports, and they do not get to always be at all of their kids' sports because they're all on different schedules, and there's so much that needs to be done, and they're all in different places, and they work. Both of them, they work. And so the thing about it is, that is one thing that I kind of always admired about their marriage, is that they offer each other that practical support. So he'll be like, you know what, I'll take this kid to this game, and you take this kid and this kid to this game. and then we'll meet back up for that kid's game afterwards. And so, like, just to be clear, that's not an exact example. I don't know how they do it, but they do it and they make it work. And I've never one time heard either one of them complain anytime I've ever been around them about being so tired because they're doing it all. It's we have all these games and these practices, and I love that. I love that for them, and I love that in general for most marriages with kids can benefit from it, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I'm getting severely off topic, but there are a lot of ways that you can show practical support to your spouse when they need it, when their life is busy. And, sometimes it's just things like running errands. Sometimes it's, just making sure that you're there for an appointment that they're worried about or something they're going through. These things are all things that really matter. And then this is one where I think a lot of people get it wrong. Moral support. When the going gets tough, having someone who stands by you no matter what can give you the courage to keep going. Something as simple as encouraging words, reassurance, or being present, expressing your belief that they have this ability and that they can succeed, celebrating their efforts even when they don't succeed. That happens, but you can still celebrate the fact that they put the work in. They gain this skill. Even if they didn't get the job, they have the skill. Offering perspective, as long as it's helpful, but helping them see the bigger picture. Sometimes when you go back to school and you're studying and you're tired and you're working and you got kids and you got a marriage, you're looking at it and you're like, is this worth it? And a lot of times we want to quit when we feel like our plate is too full. Sometimes it really does just take someone putting things into focus for us. The right person, the right words. Provide some validation for your partner that they should be exhausted. They have a lot going on. Encouraging them to take care of themselves. Can't talk. But take care of themselves. Go have a day out. One thing that my husband and I do sometimes is I'll be like, look, I'm going to go for a drive. Can you just hold it down here? I just need to get out. And I'll go out and I'll stop. I'll get me a drink and I'll just go sit in a parking lot. I don't even care. I just need a moment. And he's good with that. I can't tell you the amount of times that this man has said, I am so glad that you're taking care of yourself today. So many times. Like every single time I do anything for myself, he literally says that. And then stand by your partner and their decisions. Even if you don't agree, showing that you trust their judgment can really, truly make them feel confident about the things that they're doing. Now let's talk about the difference between achieving things because of your spouse versus in spite of them. So when you use the terms because of, this means that your achievements and growth are fueled by the love and encouragement and support that you receive from your spouse. It's a recognition that your partner plays a very important role in your success. A lot of times in relationships, when your success is built on love and support, you often get to experience the full effects of that win or that success. Oftentimes we get this feeling that it's just a dream and we can't believe that this is happening because there's nothing looming over it. You get a very different experience of success when it's because of versus in spite of. Now to talk about in spite of, this really implies that you succeed despite a lack of support. And don't get me wrong, we all love a good overcome obstacles story. It's very admirable, but it's so much better in the long run to have a partner who helps you reach new heights. Oftentimes when we win or we succeed in spite of our partner, it can not only add a strain to the marriage, but it diminishes the excitement of the success, because everything you overcame to succeed still sits and looms in the back of your mind. When it was their time, you offered that support to them. They didn't offer that support to you. These are the things that we think of while we're trying to enjoy success, because we have a partner who did not offer the support. I'm going to rephrase this another way as well, because understand that sometimes we are the partner that doesn't offer support. When your spouse succeeds despite your inability to love and support them properly, it creates a divide and it separates them a bit further from you every single time. Every single time. And then again, it takes away from their confidence that they should get and the joy that they should get from this success, from reaching their goal. So at the end of the day, setting because of as the standard for your marriage fosters a positive, nurturing environment. It encourages both partners to be actively involved in each other's growth and happiness, and it attests to the kind of love and support that grows in your marriage, even when their dreams are not your own. I don't think one person in their 30s has never seen an Oscar speech or any award show speech for that matter. We've all heard the speeches from men and women crediting their spouse for their success and their drive. I'm blessed to be able to say that everything I have been able to accomplish is because of my husband and the support he has unconditionally given me. He has truly loved me for me as I am consistently since we have been together. And it's funny because as I record this, he's cooking dinner because I haven't been able to juggle it all myself. We have 2 rabbits and they are messy. We have 4 ducks. We have ducks and quail that we are trying to incubate, and hopefully they will be hatching. There's housework, and our house is getting built, and then we have our family, and then we have our marriage separate from our family that we need to focus on. I have 6,000 jobs to do, and so sometimes he steps in and he cooks dinner and he cleans the house, and he never complains. He never says a thing about it. He doesn't care. And people hate it. People hate it. And I love it. I love every second of it because he wasn't raised with this as the norm. It's been set that the expectation from his mother was I would cook everything and clean everything all the time because I'm home. It doesn't matter if I work from home. It doesn't matter if I'm staying at home just being a mom. That was supposed to be the way it worked for her son. But the dynamic never worked for us. It never worked for us. And we tried so long to make traditional roles work, and it just did not. I was miserable. He was miserable. It wasn't working. So having a partner who knows or is willing to learn, that is a very important part. Very, very important part. Because if they don't know and they're willing to learn, you can give them a chance. But having a partner who, knows or they're willing to learn how to step in and, where they're needed, it is so important. Having that healthy interdependence doesn't happen overnight. There has to be a learning process. It's not something that comes naturally because we don't know how to work with this person that we're still learning and learning more about every single day. And if your marriage is healthy, you are continuing to learn who your spouse is every single day as they change through seasons. And some of these moments are moments that truly define a strong partnership. It is so wild wanting the looks of a strong partnership, but not being willing to do the hard stuff and learn your partner and spend that time, research them. It just seems like you would think eventually the image will crumble. What's going to be left when it does? What kind of foundation are you leaving when everything else crumbles? Interdependence is, in a marriage anyways, is about relying on each other in a healthy way. It's not about losing your individuality. It's not about losing yourself, but rather building a life where both partners can thrive together. I can't talk today, you guys. So when you have a healthy interdependence, this is when both partners support each other, share responsibilities, and work towards common goals. Even if it's not your goal, it's a balance of give and take. So a good example of this, like I said earlier, say you get married, you have a spouse, they have a dream. It isn't your dream, but it is your dream for them to be able to reach their dreams. So you decide to help lighten other loads that allow them to focus properly to meet their goals. Another example of this is when one parent wants to go back to the workforce. I've said this earlier, but these are just such common examples, you guys. And these are examples that we see most often on social media when people are talking about why they got divorced or whatever. These are the examples. These are the things that are given. These are the reasons that entire families and marriages and histories crumble. So while it seems like a very small example and very mediocre, it's very much a big deal. And it's a big deal when your partner is trying to reach those goals and needs that support. Now, an unhealthy dependence is one where a partner relies too heavily on the other to the point where a lot of times the spouses, one or both, can lose their identity. They're not contributing equally in different ways, same ways maybe, who knows. And honestly, it's just not working for the greater good of the marriage or the spouses. For instance, when one partner is doing all of the domestic and household stuff, the other partner is very reliant on that person to make things happen. It can be overwhelming. The pressure can be too much. This is just one popular example, but this example and this situation is not gender specific. Honestly, it doesn't have as much to do with gender as it does the characteristics of the household, and some household types are more likely to exhibit unhealthy dependence on a partner if they have certain characteristics. Now, with this being said, this is not a guarantee that this is like your dynamic of marriage is an unhealthy dependence if you fall under one of these categories. Let's be very clear about that, because people get a little butthurt. People don't know where an example is versus this is you and I'm saying it's about you. Too many shoes fit where they're not supposed to fit sometimes. And so this isn't an attack. I've been in many of these dynamics myself. So this is just information. But some of the households that are more prone to having unhealthy dependence on a single spouse or multiple unhealthy dependencies shared between the spouses are single income households. We all know what this means. This means that one partner is the breadwinner, the other partner relies on them heavily for financial support. And this can create a very unhealthy dependence. Households with traditional gender roles. This is a big one. This is a major one. And if social media doesn't tell you that, I am now. This is a major one. If you have ever seen a video about somebody's divorce or whatever, this is usually right up there with their top reasons for leaving, because they felt like they were doing it all and the other spouse was doing nothing. these traditional gender roles put all of the house and the domestic responsibilities on one partner. Now, I'm not saying women, because there are men that stay home too. I'm saying on one partner. These environments can foster dependence, and they generally go hand in hand with the single income households because the other spouse focuses solely on earning income usually. Households with significant age differences can also foster an unhealthy dependence. Now, this is something I learned. I've never experienced this, but apparently relationships with large age gaps can sometimes lead to dependency, particularly if the younger partner relies on the older one for financial stability or emotional support, or the older one relies on the younger partner for caregiving or medical support. Households with low self-esteem, mental health issues, or history of codependency, they are often more likely to experience an unhealthy dependency. This can be people with history of addiction or substance abuse. This can be history of people who have grown up in homes where these codependent relationships have been their main example. This can be people who just struggle with their self-esteem, or they have mental health challenges that cause them to further search for validation and support from their spouse. And sometimes this can be in ways that is more than their spouse can handle. You know, we've heard of stories where the husband has to come home in the middle of the day and take care of his wife because whatever. We've seen the story. If you've seen Grey's Anatomy, you've seen the story about Alex Karev and his little crazy girlfriend. He had to leave work. He's a surgeon, and her mental health issues were so bad, and she needed so much validation, so much support, that he had to leave work and take care of her. And then finally, when it got bad enough, he got her some help. While it may be an exaggerated situation for the TV show, it's a very real life situation for many people. And I personally know couples who have had these mental health issues be such a problem in their relationship and create such a unhealthy dependency that it has hurt their marriage and their families and their kids. So while many of these things are just characteristics, they are something to take seriously. They are something to really evaluate your relationship for and yourself for. You know, some households have cultural or societal pressures, and there are expectations. Like, you know, the royal family, they have societal pressures out the wazoo. And there are expectations that even in their worst moments, even in the hardest times of their life, they have to look the best, and they have to present themselves to the public, and they have to do all of these things. This doesn't just apply to royal family. Like, this can apply to any family anywhere. This can apply to husbands or wives with a spouse of a certain career or a certain stature. You don't have to be royal to have too many cultural or societal pressures placed on you. You know, people do things a lot of the times because of the pressure that is put on them by their culture or the society that they have grown up in. And it truly can foster just such an unhealthy dependence. You know, a dependence that requires a couple to stay together no matter the dynamics of the relationship, or, you know, for a person to show face regardless of how they feel. And then households that have limited social support often are a breeding ground for an unhealthy dependence. And that one, that kind of hits hard, and it's going to hit hard for a couple people, because basically What I'm saying is if one or both partners lack strong social support networks outside of the relationship, you can become overly dependent on each other for your emotional and social needs. That means that your spouse can be your best friend, but they don't need to be your only friend. If they're your only friend, you're fostering a relationship that can possibly have an unhealthy dependence. So basically, get out the house and go make some friends. Go hang out with your friends or invite your friends over if you're just like me and you just don't want to leave. I don't actually have any friends that come see me. My family don't come see me. So we do have this limited social support thing going on. But also, I am very quick to tell him, like, hey, you are suffocating me and I need you to leave me alone. Not usually in those words, but normally I'll be like, hey, can I just have some space? Or, hey, I need to go work on this. And he's so good about giving me that space that at this moment it's not a problem, but it has been. It has been a problem for us, and I've had to teach myself to go out without him because I don't like to go out in public without him. I don't like to go eat lunch by myself. And these are things that I've been teaching myself to kind of get out of this, limited space where I only have him to meet my needs emotionally and socially and vent to and just all those things. So you may be thinking this was a lot to take in. And it was. It was a lot to take in. Probably listen to this episode twice just to make sure you got it all. Get you a notepad the second time. Take some notes. But here's some things, just some quick little things to keep on top of your head that you can do to mutually foster a supportive relationship. Communicate openly, because that's very important. Clearly, concisely, share your needs, your goals, your feelings with your spouse. Be honest. Because if they don't know your goals, they don't know how you feel, they cannot help you meet them. Your spouse is just not a mind reader. Celebrate each other's successes. This is a major one. Take pride in what your partner achieves. Celebrate it in a way that makes them feel comfortable and makes them feel good and makes it about them. So this can be a simple Facebook post, or it could just be a quiet dinner out. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be small. It can be whatever's comfortable to your marriage and your partner that makes them feel seen and appreciated and just overall gives them a confidence boost for the next thing they want to achieve. And then be there in the tough times. Offer support, understanding, empathy. When things aren't going well, just encourage them. Maybe they need to take a break. Maybe they need some room to breathe. Maybe they need to keep pushing and they are right there and they need to hit the finish line. Give them the encouragement and the support and the understanding that they need depending on which side of the spectrum they are on at that moment. Read the room. You know your spouse. If you don't know your spouse, learn your spouse so that you can know your spouse in this moment. And I think, honestly, with that being said, I have more than given you enough proof that the statement, you're nothing without your spouse, is a testament. It's a testament to the power and the support and the love that you share in your partnership and in your marriage. It's about recognizing that together you are stronger and more capable of facing life's challenges. I encourage you to take a moment today to appreciate and vocalize the support you receive from your spouse. I also encourage you to offer support to your spouse, maybe in new ways that help them meet their goals and needs, because sometimes we are the spouse that isn't meeting needs. Both things can make a world for your difference. Both things can make a world of difference. I don't know what is going on with my mouth and my brain. They're not connected or something. They're not working. But this was a great episode. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of In Your 30s. And I hope you found it insightful and empowering. Be sure to join us next time as we continue exploring the unique aspects of life in your 30s. Don't forget to connect with me on social media. And until next time, take care. and cherish your loved ones.